As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It's my retro gaming podcast where every goddamn week a buddy of mine and I sit down and geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. I've had way too much coffee to drink, and this week it is episode 73. We're talking Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty for the second PlayStation. Admittedly, if you had told me we'd be covering Metal Gear Solid 2 before we covered Metal Gear Solid 1, 73 episodes ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but here we are. That's just the way that the PlayStation disc cookie has crumbled. This one should be interesting because I've got some pretty divisive views on this game. Before we get to that, you guys know I'm going to ramble. Before we get to the rambling, I'm going to let you know that if you don't want to listen to the rambling, there's a timestamp in the description box, and you can just see where you should skip ahead to so that I don't fill your ears with any more nonsense than I absolutely have to this week. But I don't think you should do that because the nonsense is sometimes it's pretty entertaining. First and foremost, shout out to some new Patreons. Robert, I don't know how to say your last name, Robert. So I'm not even, Robert L. I won't even attempt it because I don't want to fuck it up and look like a jerk. And I can't remember if I gave a shout out to James Clark, who's a new Patreon of ours as well. But both you guys, Robert and James, thank you so much for signing up. You guys know I got to plug it once. You guys can do it too if you want to sign up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/rememberthegame. It's only $2 a month. You're going to get entered into a draw every month to win a gift card. You are going to get extra episodes of the podcast, including now 9 episodes in our backlog of podcasts for you to listen to. And you're going to get a shout out right here on the show. All that for $2. That's a pretty good fucking deal. And just to be even more crazy, there is a second podcast coming. It is official. 90% official. The wrestling podcast is coming into form. I think I've locked down a name now. I'm looking into social media handles, stuff like that. Plan is to launch it right around January in time for Royal Rumble season, which if you're a WWE fan, you know that's kind of like the playoffs for the WWE. It's the best time of year to be a wrestling fan until they inevitably disappoint us like they're probably going to. And I have intentions of launching some perks on the Patreon for that as well that you will get included if you're in it. Like in Patreon to one, you're going to get Patreons to both. At least that's what I'm hoping to do. So patreon.com/remember the game. There's the plug. Thanks for listening. That's why there's no advertising on this thing. I'd really appreciate it if you could find it in your heart to throw me $2. So that's done. I got my plug out of it. Oh yeah, and we're on like Instagram and Twitter at Remember the Game. We'll follow you back. We'll talk with you. We'll like your stuff. You'll like our stuff. We'll be friends. It'll be fun. Okay. As far as, there we go. I got that all out of the way in under, like, in 3 minutes. So, I mean, including the intro. That's pretty fucking good. I can live with that. It is Donkey Kong Country's 25th birthday. And okay, I'm not going to talk too much in this intro. I'm going to get into Pokemon Sword and Shield because I've been playing it for a few days now, and I want to get my thoughts on that into this. It'll be spoiler free, so don't worry about it if you haven't played it yet. But I do have a couple of quick things I want to talk about. First and foremost, Donkey Kong Country. It is its 25th anniversary tomorrow. If you're listening to this the day that goes live, November 21st, 1994, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Mr. King K. Rool, and friends found us for the first time. I would put the Donkey Kong Country games in, almost certainly in my 5 favorite series. And, like, I hadn't really thought about it until I started talking here. Like, honestly, like, they might be number 3. Like, the Mario games are number 1, and the Mario Kart games are number 2. And then it might be Donkey Kong Country. Because with the exception of Donkey Kong Country 64, and I guess some of the Game Boy games that kind of suck, I fucking love Donkey Kong. Like, pre-order day one, I don't care. It gives me some more, like, just, it's the only platforming that's, like, as good as Mario, in my opinion. And Tropical Freeze is a masterpiece. If you haven't played it yet, you got to have some thick skin, because that game will break your spine, but that is so much fun. So, happy 25th anniversary to Donkey Kong Country. If you're interested, we covered the original Donkey Kong Country game way back in our archives on episode 42, which is about 30 weeks ago. And I'm 100% sure we'll end up covering Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3 in the future. And maybe even Donkey Kong Country Returns at some point from the Wii. And hopefully, if you're listening to this like way off in the future, like in the middle of like 2020 or 2021 or fucking the year 3000 or something, hopefully Dixie Kong has found her way into Smash Brothers where she rightfully belongs. God damn it. Give us some Dixie Kong. So happy birthday to Donkey Kong Country. I love that game. Also, Black Friday is another thing I wanted to touch on. That is next weekend. And so I'll probably lay into it a little bit more next week when I've actually seen some of the flyers and stuff like that. But I just wanted to throw a wish list out there. I'm not looking for too much. As you guys may or may not know, I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox anymore, and I'm not a PC guy, so I'm just rolling with a Switch. So my sales options are probably going to be pretty limited because, as everybody knows, Nintendo doesn't really put their fucking games on sale, like hardly ever. But it is coming up, so if I throw some wishes out into the gaming universe, maybe the gaming gods will hear them and hook me up. I'm looking for a cheap 3DS or 2DS. Like, I think, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm grasping at straws. I would love to see them like $60. Like, if that's like, a 2DS is fine. Like, there's just some great games like fucking Link Between Worlds and Mario 3D Land and the Metroid one. And like, there's some Pokemon and stuff on there. Mario Kart was rad. There's some really good DS games out there. And I sold my original, or my 3DS when I sold off most of my collection, and I've been regretting it ever since. So I'd really like to get my hands on a 2DS if I can get it cheap enough. So hopefully that happens. If it sounds like I sound distracted, my dog is on some medicine right now, and I'm just trying to, nobody else is home. It's late, and I'm trying to keep an eye on her because I'm afraid she's going off to puke somewhere on this fucking medicine. Hey, Molly, come here. I know that makes for bad this is one of the free podcasts. I don't have to try on this one. So anyway, so that's my number one item. There she is. Probably on my Black Friday wish list. Also kind of hoping that either The Witcher 3 or Ghostbusters goes on sale for the Switch. I know that they just came out, so I don't really, Witcher 3 in particular, I don't really like my chances. Maybe Ghostbusters. But if they go on sale, I'll probably look at picking them up. And then, I know Nintendo games never go on sale, but if New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe goes on sale, I'd probably pick that up because that's one of the only ones I can play through with my girlfriend. She likes those 2D Mario games, and I love them. So that's my wish list. If you've got a wish list out there, shoot them to me on Twitter and stuff, and I hope to God that your list comes true and you get to pick up some stuff on the cheap, just like I am hoping to do. Having said that, excuse me, I really have like coffee. I've read that coffee's bad for your throat when you're trying to like talk and do podcasts and radio and stuff. And I've really like, I know you guys don't care about my personal life, but it has been a fucking day. I've done some podcasts with people. It's snowing like a mother here. My dog is not sick. She's got her deworming medicine, but now she's acting all funky because the medicine messes with her insides. I've had comedy shows cancel on me today. I've had comedy shows book on me today. It is just, I'm done. I got to get this fucking intro done. I should just shut up, finish it, and then I can just relax and fucking unwind for the rest of the night. Anyway, you don't care about my life, but that's why I'm drinking so much coffee. And then the coffee is causing my throat to get all stuffy and crackly. So that's my life story in 30 seconds or less. If none of the games that I want on my wish list go on sale, that's probably okay. I mean, in a perfect world, I get them. I guess I'm going to keep my eye out for a laptop too, but I don't really know what I'm looking for. I have too much damn stuff to play as it is. I mean, I'm playing through Pokemon Sword and Shield right now, which we're going to get to in about 30 seconds. And that's going to take some more time. I still have Dragon Quest Builders 2 to finish on my Switch. I've been really jonesing to replay Mario Odyssey and Celeste. Like, I've just had this, I need this platform. I haven't played a platformer in a while. I'm fucking jonesing. Plus I've still got so many retro games sitting right over to my left here to play through. I'm trying to get back into doing reviews for you guys in the New Year's over on the YouTube channel and Let's Plays and just, it's a great problem to have. I'm not whining. I'm not complaining. There's too many games. I don't know how, plus I'm thinking about getting a PS4 again for Final Fantasy VII. And that's what I was just going to say. I have no idea how multi-platform gamers fucking keep up. And I don't even have a job. I mean, like, listen, I sometimes get pissed off when people think stand-up comedy isn't a job because like we go on the road a lot. There's a lot of stuff that goes into booking and writing and going to open mics and all that kind of stuff. But like, I get it that it's not a real, like, trust me, I worked a real job for 15 years, like in a warehouse. I get what a real job is. But I just like, there's just not enough damn time. Anyway, so that's what I want to play. That's what I want to buy, what's on sale or when it goes on sale. What have I been playing since you guys last heard from me 7 days ago? Pretty much nothing except Pokemon Sword and Shield. Pretty exclusively. I didn't play a lot for a couple of days. I dinked around Metal Gear Solid on my PS Classic, which, I mean, I'm going to save my thoughts on it for the inevitable Metal Gear Solid episode. But I will say, how the fuck did we ever play these games without analog? Like, because the PS Classic, the controllers don't have analog sticks and just fucking controls. But Pokemon came out Thursday night, Friday morning, whatever, and I've been playing pretty exclusively. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes of thoughts on that. I'm not going to have any spoilers in here, but again, there's a timestamp in the box below if you want to skip over it, if you really don't want anything spoiled. I don't think I'm going to give away anything. Or if you're just sick of listening to me hammer on people that hate on Pokemon Sword and Shield, then you might want to skip it too. If you're hating on Pokemon Sword and Shield, if you want my honest opinion, and keep in mind this is coming from someone that played Pokemon Red and Blue numerous times as a child, and then didn't finish a Pokemon game until Pokemon X and Y on the 3DS. So maybe my opinion's not as valid as a diehard. If you're not playing Pokemon Sword and Shield and you're a Pokemon fan, I think you're missing out. Because I'm having a great fucking time with this game. Admittedly, I avoided all spoilers, all previews. I didn't want to know anything. I know a ton of Pokemon have been cut out from like the original fucking 2,000 generations or whatever amount there is. And there's a bunch of new ones. Doesn't bother me because I'm not that attached to them. I will say that every time I come across a Gen 1 Pokemon in the game, I like lose my mind just because I'm like, oh my God, from my childhood, but now you're in 3D kind of, and you look better than you did on the fucking Game Boy screen. I don't think it's a spoiler to say you got to go get 8 badges. Anyone that's played a Pokemon game knows that that's what you're going to have to do. I'm 3 badges in. I'm having a fucking awesome time in the wild area, which is where the camera is like movable and you're just in this giant field just full of Pokemon that change based on like, it seems like it changes based on the weather and stuff like that. And you can see all of them. I'm telling you guys, no random encounters is an absolute fucking game changer. Not just in Pokemon, but in any RPG or anything as well. Random encounters eventually ruin RPGs for me. They're like Octopath Traveler, the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games. Trying to think of other ones that have had random. Like obviously like Final Fantasy VII, like any of those games. It hits a point where I don't want to explore anymore because I'm sick of fucking random encounters and having to fight the same battle over and over and over again. And Pokemon was like that too, right? We've all played them. Pokemon Red and Blue, and you know that there's a rare something or other in this fucking area, and instead you have to fight going through the caves in Pokemon Red and Blue. How many fucking Zubats have you killed in your lifetime or fainted, whatever, like thousands. And to have no random encounters, and then you see these fucking Pokemon that there's 3,000 of, and you're like, I just don't want to fight any more of you, and I can skip over them. So good. It changes everything. When I finish this game, I will absolutely be going back, and I don't know if I'll completely complete. I don't know if I'll finish off the Pokedex, but I will certainly put more time into filling it out than I have in previous Pokemon games, because I don't have base my collecting on random encounters. I can just see the ones that are there. So when I know there's one I don't have yet, I can walk up to them and try to catch them and not have to fucking fight 3,000 Zubats and Rattatas and Pidgeys to fucking do it. So really enjoying that. I don't know. Some people have crapped on the graphics and the frame rate and stuff like that. I haven't found the frame rate that bad. I don't think the graphics are that bad, but admittedly, I am not a graphics snob at all. I was going to say a graphics whore, but I don't consider you all whores. I just don't care. I couldn't care less about the graphics in pretty well any video game I play, unless like aspects of the game count on the graphics. To help kind of establish what's going on, I could care less. Just give me a fun game, and if it looks good, that's just a bonus. And I think this game looks fine. The music has been good. If I do have to throw some shade at it, the Dynamaxing thing, the growing Pokemon to like huge sizes, I could take or leave it. I guess it's cool. It's not really doing it for me thus far. I had to fight one of the Dynamax. Again, I'm trying to do no spoilers, but I fought a Dynamax Pokemon where it was like in its huge form, and I beat it with a regular Pokemon just because I played the strength versus weakness thing. It's a cool idea. If it wasn't in the game, I wouldn't miss it. It doesn't matter to me. Also, thus far, I've found the game quite easy. And I know Pokemon has never been one to be like the most challenging hardcore game in the world. But they did leave XP share as a default setting on, and you can't turn it off. And I'm a little... it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't say I'm angry about it. I'm a little shocked that they didn't make it an option, that I could turn it off if I wanted to. Like my starter Pokemon is in their second form, and I think they're only a level or two away from their third form. Like evolution, and admittedly I've barely used them. Like I just haven't had a need, but because they're constantly in my party, I'm one of those traditionalists that like once you get your starter never comes out of your party because that's your first one. They're just racking up the XP from the XP share, and I'm have no need to use them. So I kind of wish you could turn it off. At the same time, it'll be really handy to try to complete your Pokedex afterwards. So it's been easy. I don't quite understand the online. It seems to keep... I guess it like disconnects you from being on Wi-Fi originally and makes you go to local if there's another Switch near you, I guess, because my girlfriend has a Switch, and so it keeps trying to just put me on local, and I have to go in and manually change it to put me on online as a whole every single time to the Wi-Fi. It's really not a big deal. It takes 3 seconds. I hit Y, I hit start, and it puts it on internet. And I just don't get why it keeps defaulting back to local. But I'm having fun with it. And I'll tell you guys, my girlfriend has never played a Pokemon game except Pokemon Go. And she watched me play this one for a few days on the TV this weekend and liked it enough that we went out and bought her Pokemon Sword because I'm playing Shield. And she's like completely in love with it and having a great time. And she's never played an RPG. She's never played a Pokemon game. So I guess if you want to hate and if you don't like it, then that is your prerogative. But I'll be honest with you guys. Like I've seen reviews that have said it is the best Pokemon game so far. And I've also seen people shit on those reviews for saying it. And if you want to shit on me, that's fine. About 15, I don't know how many hours I am into it, like 10 or 15. I'm going slow because I'm just going around trying to collect all the Pokemon. Yeah, I think it's the best Pokemon game ever made so far. My pal Miklos, a regular here on the show, we actually were just talking at a comedy show last night, and he's a Pokemon super fan. And he said he's absolutely loving it too. So for what it's worth, there's 2 different people with different Pokemon, or 3 different people. I'm a casual fan. Mick is a diehard fan. My girlfriend is a never played them, and all 3 of us are loving it. So if you're on the fence about it, I think give it a chance. Frankly, if you buy it and don't like it, you guys, you're going to be able to sell it for like $70 anyways. Not back to like a GameStop or an EB Games, those fucking crooks, but you'd be able to sell it on like Kijiji or something for cash and just put that cash into buying something else instead. But I'm really having fun with it. And if you're on the fence, I just think take the plunge, man. Try it, because I'm like, that's where I'm gonna go as soon as I'm done this, is go play some more Pokemon Shield. So no spoilers, talked Pokemon, it's awesome, got that done. I'm going to shut the fuck up. I've been going long enough. Let's talk Metal Gear Solid 2, you guys. Again, I never thought we'd cover this game before Metal Gear Solid 1, but what do I know? I didn't realize how divisive Metal Gear Solid 2 was. I mean, I think for the most part, Metal Gear Solid 1 is pretty universally praised. The only time I think people don't like Metal Gear Solid 1 is if they're just not into that genre, which is fine. But if you're into the genre at all, you like Metal Gear Solid 1. But Metal Gear Solid 2... a lot of people are on it, myself included. I'm not going to ruin it. You guys will find out in a second. But when I think of the PlayStation 2, one of the first games I think of is Metal Gear Solid 2, because along with Twisted Metal Black, they were the first games I owned. And we're going to talk all about it this week. I'm going to cue some music. My guest this week is my pal Bradley McHugh, returning once again, and we are talking Metal Gear Solid 2 that released on November 13th, 2001. So just like Donkey Kong Country, it's his birthday a few days ago. It just turned 18, so it's legal now, and it's kind of ironic because Raiden looks like a 16-year-old girl. But find out what we think of Metal Gear Solid right now, or Metal Gear Solid 2 right now. Kick back, relax, enjoy the podcast, everybody, and here we go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Oh, you're welcome. I hit record while you were saying that, so I'm going to leave that in.
Oh,
and at
cool.
some point, it was something about for the coffee. You're welcome for the coffee. Thanks for doing podcasts with me.
Hey, no problem. I'm very happy to be here.
This is awesome, you guys. I'm on the road, so I don't know if the sound is going to seem a little bit different because I don't have my mic stands. And you know, the one thing I thought of during the first episode we recorded is I didn't bring my pop filters for the microphones, so there might be some pops in them. I don't fucking care.
Well, especially because we talked about a game that has
like the word paper in it.
paper. Yeah,
I don't want to spoil the game just in case it comes out after this one. My guest this week is the Owen Hart to Mark McHugh's Bret Hart. And when I say that, I don't mean that he's dead. I mean that he's the infinitely better of the two.
Yeah, I am better. That is
true. You are
true.
better. Suck on that, Mark. And that is Mark's brother, Bradley McHugh. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Happy to be podcasting today. We woke up super bright and early, and we're drinking coffee as given to me by my lovely host.
This episode might be better. Like the last one we recorded actually turned out really good, but I was so half awake for the first half of it that I was like, I'm glad this is a game I like because I need to wake up. And now today we're doing a game that I am not nearly as excited about as I was the last episode. I don't hate it.
I really like this game. So
as you all know from the, I'm sure 15 plus minute intro rambling I just did, we are talking Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty for the PlayStation 2 and now just about every other Sony console.
It's everywhere now.
But originally for the PlayStation 2. Now, here's one thing, Bradley, before we get too into this.
Yeah.
If you had told me when I launched this podcast that we would talk Metal Gear Solid 2 before I did an episode about the original Metal Gear Solid, I would have probably said, no, that won't happen. I wouldn't slap you or anything. But I'd be like, that's not going to happen. No way. Metal Gear Solid is like one of the most iconic video games of all time.
It's amazing. Have you ever played the GameCube remake?
I have.
Oh,
yes.
It's amazing.
It's
so good.
And it's like, and even those like, okay, I have minor criticisms, and I don't want to get too into Metal Gear Solid because I cannot afford to burn that game on this episode. It needs its own episode. I have criticisms of these games, less because of the game itself and more because I have neither the patience nor the skill set to play stealth games well. But having said that, this is Metal Gear Solid 2. When I think of the PlayStation 2, I'm sure I'm in the minority. This is the first game I think of.
I think this is the highest selling game on the PS2.
I'd believe that.
Because I remember when the PS2 first came out, like it didn't have very many games, but people were still buying it, and they're like, "Well, this game's out, so we'll buy Metal Gear Solid 2."
Yeah, this was the first game because I remember buying a. So I don't know how much we talk PlayStation 2 on the podcast because admittedly, I know it's like the greatest selling system of all time,
155 million units,
unreal, and I know it's got a huge fan base. Like it is of that generation because there was the PS2, the GameCube, the Xbox, and then the lost, forgotten Dreamcast.
Oh, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, sir. And so I'm not even going to talk Dreamcast because I never owned one, and Sega sucks. We've been over that. Yeah, that's for some of you, and I know who you are. That's for some of you. But of those three, I love GameCube, and I was actually like a very big Xbox fan. I really enjoyed the Xbox. I did not use my PS2 a lot.
Really?
I bought it for the DVD player. Which I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I get that the PlayStation 2 is great and it's got a ton of great systems and it's got arguably the best or it's one of the best controllers of all time. It's got a sick library. I get all that. The reason that console is the greatest selling system of all time is because it had a DVD player in it at a time where no one had a DVD player.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
DVD players were like super new.
Exactly.
And like, because like a DVD player costs like what, $200?
Exactly.
And then this was like $250. A kid goes to his parents and is like, all right, look, here's the dealio, mom and pop.
Yeah.
We have a few different choices here. We can get the DVD player for $200. It plays DVDs, or we can get the thing that's going to make me shut the fuck up for hours on end.
And I'm telling you guys all right now, I'm not downplaying the PlayStation 2 because it's earned its place. It's a great system.
Amazing library.
I know personally the reason I bought a PlayStation 2 was because I wanted a DVD player and was like, well, I might as well get the next PlayStation and a DVD player. Like, what an incredibly genius move by Sony. Like, just... I'm telling you, like, the original PlayStation did very well, but the PlayStation 2 is the reason the PlayStation 4 is still the king of consoles.
Yeah.
And that's because of that fucking DVD player.
Well, now the PS4's got Blu-ray, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's not about the same price as a Blu-ray player, but it's not much more. So why not just get a PS4?
Exactly. Sony knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and then you can run Netflix and Prime Video on it or whatever.
That's not what this console or this podcast is about, but man, oh man, if Nintendo found a monkey's claw, if they had one wish, it would be, how about we release that system with Sony instead of letting them go loose?
Yeah.
And turning into the
biggest monster.
Sony is the Venom to Nintendo Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Nintendo had the symbiote and they were like, nah, we don't need this. And then Sony found it, and now the PlayStation owns Nintendo.
Yeah, no, it's just disgusting. And then the Xbox is like something that's like Dr. Octopus.
The Xbox is just... I love the 360.
Yeah.
And the original.
But the 360 was definitely the best console of the last generation, I would say.
Yeah, the 360 is my favorite non-Nintendo console of all time.
My Xbox One is very good at playing Netflix.
Yeah. You know what sucks is like I like the Xbox One. The problem is just like if I was going to buy one of the two new, like, I know they're not current. Well, they are current gen, but they're almost old now.
Yeah.
But between a PS4 and an Xbox One, I think unless you're loyal to Xbox, 90% of people are going to get a PS4.
Well, the problem is right now, and this is something I've been preaching for like months, is that Xbox One, nobody bought it. Nobody bought it, by the way.
No.
But the Xbox One has Game Pass, which is the most fucking amazing thing I've ever had in my entire life. It's like I get a library of free games. I got Blair Witch on the day one for free through Game Pass.
Right.
And Gears of War 5, I can install it right now. It comes out tomorrow.
Having said that, like if the Xbox One was selling better, they wouldn't, like, Game Pass wouldn't exist. They would have no reason to be like, oh, here's all these. If you'll just buy our system, we'll give you a bunch of you know what I mean?
We'll give you a shit, like way more free games than you
please
could
buy our system.
And then PlayStation's over here like, oh, we know we have the money, so we're going to give you a couple of free games a month, and they're usually shitty.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
so that's
anyway,
a great way to segue back. And so
Metal Gear Solid 2.
The reason the PlayStation 4 owns the world is because of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah. And of course, Metal Gear Solid, it's probably one of my favorite franchises ever. And if I had to pick a PS2 Metal Gear Solid, obviously I'd go with Snake Eater. It's a much better game.
Right.
But I chose to talk about this game because I think that it's very quirky and it's very weird.
It is.
It's super, super weird because Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima is just such a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, he is.
And
he's almost a man before his time.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you know, like he is a weirdo, no question. But I do feel like he has ideas that are like now, like if Metal Gear Solid 2 came out today, people would just be like, this is fucking rad.
Yeah.
But when it came out, people were like, what the fuck is going on? You know,
why is so much of this game movie?
Exactly,
why is there so many cutscenes? And Metal Gear Solid 1 was plagued with that a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, I want to talk quickly about the things that I think Metal Gear Solid 2 did better.
Okay.
Because I think that it's a great game. Number one, combat's way better.
Way better.
You can shoot in first person.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was that ever useful? There was an auto aim function as well that made it way easier to take down your enemies.
Well, because they put the laser sight in, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, it's funny now, like we all take the laser sight, like every shooting game has a laser sight. Like the first one that pops into my mind is Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
Which is like, oh, I love that game.
Oh, it's super good.
But the laser sight is like, I can't imagine trying to play one of these games without the laser sight now. Like that just is so, or crosshairs or something.
It's like shooting from the hip.
Right,
you know?
like something to be able to see. But like Metal Gear Solid, again, we're really going to try to stay away from Metal Gear Solid 1. But you're right, like to be able to go from like, oh, I can see in first person and see a bad guy's coming, but I can't attack him, to being like, oh yeah, I can see him, better shoot him. And not only could you shoot him, but he put like the limb damage in.
Yeah.
Like you could shoot a foot, you could shoot a hand, you could shoot a headshot, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because I warned you before this podcast I was going to shit on Metal Gear Solid 2, and I will shit on it a little bit later.
Okay, perfect.
But
I have gripes with it too also.
I will 1,000,000,000% agree. That to me is the biggest standout from this game, is that the combat is so much better.
The combat's upped. And I actually like the range of weapons in this game too, especially near the end when you get like the katanas. That is the most fun weapon in this game, and it's actually a damn shame you don't get it till the end.
Yeah.
Because it is so much fun to use those katanas.
Right.
And it feels way more, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels way more fluid to use the katanas than it does to use a gun.
Right.
As this character.
Yeah.
The first weird thing that anybody will notice about this game is that it's cut into two separate chapters. There's the tanker chapter, and then there's the plant chapter. Plant chapter is like most of the game, but the tanker chapter is the first thing that happens, and it's like 2 hours, and you're playing as Solid Snake, and you land on this tanker, and then it's almost like a tutorial. And they're like, this is how you control Snake, this is how you shoot, this is how you do this and that, and the whole time you're like, yeah, this is it. This is the Metal Gear Solid sequel. And then the tanker
Spoilers.
explodes. Yeah.
Not that it fucking matters. It's spoilers.
This game came out fucking 20 years ago.
You can't talk Metal Gear Solid without storylines.
Yeah,
So
because it's 90% story.
exactly.
The tanker explodes and Snake dies, and you're like, wow, what the fuck is this all about? Yeah. And then it's like, you're like, I have no clue why this is happening.
Yeah.
And then you go into this next thing, and they're calling you Snake at first, and you're like, they're saying Snake, but the guy's voice is completely different now.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're not going to call you Snake anymore because that's the guy who died. And you're like, shit, I'm a different dude now.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're playing as Raiden. Raiden sucks.
Right. Okay. And there is my biggest criticism of this game. God damn it, fucking everyone involved with this decision, okay? Like, and I get that Metal Gear Solid, like I was reading about it this morning. I haven't played this game fucking forever.
Yeah.
Great reviews, people love it.
It is a good game.
It is a good game. But it's like, okay, so Metal Gear Solid is it has on anybody's best PlayStation 1 games list, it has to be top 3.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, it's personal preference to me when you get in there, but it has to be top 3. Phenomenal game. Metal Gear Solid 2 comes out. You've got this brand new system with no games, but here's the sequel to like one of the greatest games on the original system, and you're like, oh my god, this is going to be fucking awesome. And none of the commercials let you know. They're like, oh yeah, you're not playing as a fucking character.
All the commercials are the tanker level.
And I get that there's like a thing, and I'll tell you right now, when that happened, and then I had to play as that fucking emo kid, I was like, well, maybe this is just like a couple hours, and then I'll go back to being Solid Snake. Nope, fuck you. That would be like if Super Mario World came out with the Super Nintendo after everyone played Super Mario 3, and they were like, we need more Mario, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna be a Koopa Troopa. You're not gonna be Mario. You're gonna be a shitty person.
After you beat Larry Koopa, you fall into the lava, and you're a Koopa Troopa for the rest of the game.
And it never goes back. And I was like, and again, spoilers, Solid Snake isn't dead. He's still around. He comes back.
He comes back, and he keeps calling himself Pliskin, and it's like, oh, can you guys be way less subtle that you stole this character from Escape from New York?
Oh, and
holy
it's
shit.
Okay, like, once you bring Solid Snake back into the equation, how about you give us the ability to play as the fucking guy that brought us to the game?
I read an interview from Hideo Kojima, and he said the reason he did that is because he wanted people to look at Solid Snake like an indestructible, like sort of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type or like a Sylvester Stallone type. But if you're playing as him and you're fucking up a lot, you're not going to look at him that way.
I guess so. But like, well then, like, would it have, honestly, and I'm asking you this honestly,
sure,
would it have hurt the sales of the game if they had just revealed that you're not Solid Snake?
Yes.
You think so?
Definitely.
I don't think it would have, because I think people weren't that attached to Solid Snake at that point. You played one game as him. Well, if they had just released the second one and been like, this is a couple years later, Solid Snake is dead. Like, just say, like, Solid Snake is dead. Yeah. You're this new guy. You don't have to reveal that Solid Snake isn't dead and that he comes back. I think people would have they needed a game to play on their brand new expensive system. Everyone loved the first one. Like, I get that, like, by Metal Gear Solid 5, everyone's like, oh, I wish I could suck Solid Snake's dick. He's the greatest. But, like, after one game, no one was like, he's the greatest character ever.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is that 1 and 4 are the only games where you play as Solid Snake.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it would have hurt it. I get that it was like a big twist, but to me, and then I'll tell you, and okay, so I don't mean to derail. I can derail whatever.
Derail. We'll do whatever you want. It's your own fucking podcast.
One of the reviews I was watching this morning in preparation for this podcast said that he's like, I bet you there are a lot of people out there that never came back to Metal Gear Solid after number 2. And that's a real shame. I'm one of them.
You look at the difference between the sales of Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3. It's night and day. Metal Gear Solid 2 blew that game out of the water, which is unfortunate because 3 is, in my humble opinion, the best Metal Gear Solid game.
Right.
By a lot.
And you know what? Yeah, my brother's a Metal Gear Solid fanatic, and he says the same thing. Metal Gear Solid 3 is
It's the fucking best. It's amazing.
I am one of them. I never finished Metal Gear Solid 2. And I never touched another Metal Gear Solid game.
Man, so we can't talk about the ending. Oh, that's
you can talk about the ending.
Okay,
I know
we'll talk about the ending.
And and there was 2 main problems with it. One was like, it wasn't that I wasn't playing as Solid Snake. It was that I didn't like the guy I was playing as.
Yeah.
I thought, what's his name? Raiden?
Raiden.
Yeah, I thought Raiden was a fucking wiener.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Raiden is that he's okay, but they shoehorn in this weird romance plot between him and the girl who saves for you, Rose, and like they've been dating for a while, and they like every now and again she'll call you and be like, do you remember when we walked through the park? And it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's like, I'm about to die, right? Yeah. Like, I don't fucking have time for this.
I'm in a weird stealth suit, dude, and there's people shooting at me. We can talk about this fucking later.
Yeah, she's like, say you love me. And you're like, I'm in a fucking locker and there's 10 people looking for me right now. I'm not gonna say a fucking thing. She's like, if you don't say it right now, we're breaking up.
Yeah.
Like, as you're hiding in this locker the whole time.
Well, and the weird thing about this game too, and I've always found this weird about Metal Gear Solid as a whole, is like, how come time and like sound freezes when you're on the codec?
Right?
Like you'll be like in one of those lockers and there's 10 people hanging around, and then you'll just be on the codec being like, yeah, there's 10 people coming around. Better be quiet. And it's yo, Ryan, you gotta shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
dog.
that always bothered me too. Like, because they do explain. I can't remember if they explained it in the second one. I know in the first one they say that it's like hooked into like your eardrum or something.
Yeah,
so the vibrations going to your brain. Yeah. But like, to me, it would have just like, it's a very minor thing. But they could have just been like, we have the ability to like talk through telekinesis or something.
Yeah,
'cause it's hooked
which
up
I
to your
think,
brain.
which I think is what it is, but it's not explained well enough.
Right, because
Yeah.
it does seem like you're having like a full blown conversation while you're supposed to be hiding from these guys that are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel better now.
Bosses are worse in this one. Bosses.
Well, Fat Man's awesome.
Fat Man's all right. Vamp is okay. There's that lady. What's her name? Olga. Olga Garlukovich.
Yeah.
Olga Garlukovich. That's a pretty fun fight. Like the one at the end of the game. There's a fight at the beginning of the game where you play as Olga Garlukovich. Fuck that fight, dude. It's so boring and stupid. And it's impossible to lose because the rations are just keep respawning.
Yeah, to try to make sure you win. Yeah.
Now, I was saying before we started this podcast that I actually did a little bit of replaying for this game, but I did it kind of in a weird way because I've always played this game on the PS2. It was one of the first games I got when I got a PS2. I've played through this game probably a baker's dozen times, but I always played it through on the PS2. But I wanted to replay it for this podcast, but I didn't want to drag out my PS2 because it's somewhere up there. You know, there's the cords are hidden somewhere. I think like they're in a plastic bag somewhere. So I pulled out the Metal Gear Solid HD collection on Xbox 360 and was playing it on my Xbox One because it's backwards compatible.
Right.
That game feels fucking weird on anything but a PlayStation controller. It's so bizarre.
I'd believe that.
Yeah, it's so bizarre because you use like the L and R, the L1 and L2 button, which are like sort of spongy on the PS2 controller.
Yeah.
But it's clicky on the Xbox controller, so having to hold it down feels awkward and weird. And it's just kind of weird to play it on the Xbox. It feels wrong, you know. It's like playing a Final Fantasy game on an Xbox console. It's like gross, weird.
Yeah, it's like playing anything other than Halo or Gears on an Xbox.
Yeah,
it's fucking weird. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
No, I will say, like, for all the shitting I do on, I don't even know if I shit on PlayStation that much. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
That controller, they fucking nailed it. Like if you literally took a PS1 controller. I mean, analog PS1 controller, not the fucking PlayStation Classic non-analog.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get to the analog one and put it next to a PS4 controller, like it's almost the same. No, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal controller.
Sony knew that they struck gold and they stopped digging.
Yeah,
you know, they were like,
right, and they were like,
"No,
"No, this
controller.
works.
Yeah, this is
works.
the one. It's comfortable for people to hold." Do you know that there are people who literally like their bone structure doesn't work properly to hold an NES controller because it's just so fucking weirdly shaped.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like the Super Nintendo controller, I love.
Yeah.
But that NES controller is like holding a little brick. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I had a friend who had to, because she had some sort of bone disease in her hands, she had to special order a NES controller shaped like a Super Nintendo controller
For the curves. And
stuff.
Because
she could not. It would fuck up her bones in her hand.
No shit, eh?
Yeah.
Well, that PlayStation controller, anybody could. You don't even have to have hands to use that fucking thing. Everybody knows that.
Yo, it's perfect.
But I believe that if you played through the game like a dozen times and just knew like muscle memory with that controller and everything, and then try to play it some way else, that would be fucking.
It's super weird.
That would be weird. And like, let's not fuck around. Like Metal Gear Solid 2, it'll hurt you. Like it's not an easy game.
No, yeah,
like
not at all.
If you don't know what you're doing and you're not good at it, it's gonna fuck you up. Like
the good news about Metal Gear Solid and every Metal Gear Solid game is that for some reason they give you 7 difficulty options. Like it's like very, very easy, normal, hard, very hard, extremely hard, super hard. And you're like, why do I need just give me normal, easy, medium.
Yeah,
or normal, medium, hard.
Yeah, normal, easy, medium. yeah. I want to play hard mode. Shut up, play normal.
Yeah.
It's like the Starbucks of hard. It's
Yeah.
like, well, that's normal. Well, what if you want to play on easy? Well, then you play it on simple.
Yeah.
That's fucking.
It's
Well,
the
then
same
what's
thing.
easy? Easy is normal. What the fuck are you talking? yeah. No, because this game fucks you up. And
Yeah, absolutely.
And I struggle with stealth games as a whole because I don't have the patience and I want to go. And the thing is like in the first one, if you got caught, most of the time you could fight your way out of it if
Yeah.
you really wanted to, you know.
No way in this game.
Dude, and I've done a lot of shitting on this game. We already talked about the controls and how much better. Oh yeah, and I want to get back to that. Not just the combat, but like the way you can like hang off ledges and stuff like that.
And
they really did like supersize the controls.
Well, and that's why later on with the GameCube, they just took like that concept and was like, let's just apply that to the first game with the Twin Snakes.
Right.
Because it's the Twin Snakes is a remake of the first one with the control scheme and visuals of the second one.
I would like to know how many things in Metal Gear Solid 2 they wanted to put in Metal Gear Solid 1 and just didn't have the abilities.
Yeah.
And then in Metal Gear Solid, I want to know how many ideas for, especially as far as like controls and stuff, how many things did they put in Metal Gear Solid 2 that they wanted to put in 1 and couldn't? And how many things did they play Metal Gear Solid 1 and then be like, boy, if you could shoot while you're looking at people, that would really change this game.
Yeah, that would be
you know what I mean?
really
like,
sweet.
I'm sure that's a lot of it too.
Yeah.
But like, so to all their credit, one of the things they improved drastically is the controls. And I personally feel like they really improved the AI in Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, I really feel like the bad guys like work together and play as bad. Like,
yeah,
they're
like,
not idiots.
They're looking around for you,
right?
You know,
yeah,
when you've been spotted and then you run and find a place to hide, they'll look in like a lot of the nooks and crannies that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, you can't just hide in a locker and know that they'll walk away after a
minute,
minute,
they might be like, and like you have to think about weird things too, right? Like if you've been shot in the foot, they're like, oh man, it looks like somebody got shot in the foot here. We can see the blood. It's going up to that locker. Check out that locker.
And that's really, dude. They're like, and you know what's crazy?
That's
about
advanced.
that?
Yeah.
How old is this game? 15 years?
Came out in 2001.
Jesus Christ! So almost 20 years.
So yeah, almost 20 years.
And there's AI in games today not as good as the AI in this fucking game.
Yeah.
And like, and everyone knows, like, if you're a gamer, you know that one of the biggest problems with video games is AI.
Yeah.
It can ruin a game for me, like when the computer's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. And the AI in this game is not fucking dumb. But they also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley, because you know this game better than me. Did they not put it like, if somebody saw you or caught you or whatever, they would radio, wouldn't they? Or they would try to call for help. And if you could take care of them before they call for help, you were good.
Yeah.
That's a fucking great mechanic.
The only problem with that, though, or no, actually not a problem. One of the things I love about that, too, though, is that if they get halfway through their radio and you punch them out, then the other guy on the radio is like, hey, what were you talking about there? What's going on?
Right, yeah.
We're going to send people because you're not responding now.
Right. Like, that's fucking awesome. Like, and that may not seem like a big deal to anyone, but like...
If for a kid in 01... It was pretty nuts,
dude. And the tension it added when you heard a guy was going to call for help, and you were like, "I got like 4 seconds to fucking shut this guy up."
Yeah,
because
and like with this game, like you have like a few minutes, or like you've played the first few minutes, and you're like, "All right, video game rules. All right, he got halfway through his thing, but I killed him before he finished it. There's no way they're coming for me now." And then they're like, "Yeah, we're coming down there because you got halfway through that." And you're like, "Holy shit! How the fuck?" How did they know?
Yeah, and did they? No, and I don't remember. Do they say something like that?
Yeah,
like, did they not say
they're like, wait, what's going on? Respond, you know?
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, we're sending people.
As opposed to like in a lot of video games, if the guy was like, hey, listen, the guy we're all trying to kill is here, and you guys got to come right now. We're on the first floor, and then it cuts out. All the villains are like, oh, okay, they must have got him.
They're like, yeah, he didn't finish his sentence, so obviously there's no
We're
real emergency.
on the first floor. Like they're just like, forget it.
Yeah,
but like in this, so I love that. I loved that. I think that is such a.
It's awesome.
How do more games not have that today?
The story in this one is whoa crazy.
that is my biggest criticism is the making me play as this crappy character.
Yeah.
And my second biggest criticism, and I swear to God I tried. I literally read the plot today off of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And I read it twice and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it starts out fine.
Because, like, the first game, it's like, okay, you're an operative. You're a retired operative, pulled out of retirement. You're going in. There's a nuclear weapon. Easy.
Yeah, you got to stop these guys. Yeah.
This one, it's like, the president's been kidnapped, and you're like, by terrorists, and you're like, oh, okay, easy. And then they're like, oh, and also there's a vampire, and the vampire is part of this secret society that's creating a new Arsenal gear, and the Arsenal gear is created by the Patriots. The Patriots, by the way, is the most fucking whoa crazy thing of all time, because like the whole thing with the Patriots is that the Patriots control all government and have been for like 100 years, and then they're like, all right, we got to find the Patriots, and it's like all the Patriots are dead, and it's like, what the fuck what are you talking about? Why even bring it up if all the Patriots are what's going on?
And listen, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Man, and if you're confused by Metal Gear Solid 2's story, Metal Gear Solid 4 is way crazier.
I don't like it just makes no fucking sense to me. And then it's like, oh yeah, so Solid Snake's brother, they're like genetic brothers that were made from this guy, and then his brother is dead, but he's not quite dead because we took his arm
and he sewed it onto. Oh yeah, that's fucking some shit.
So we took Solid Snake's genetic brother, took his arm, sewed it onto the arm of a bad guy, and now whenever Snake gets near that bad guy, his genetic brother takes control of the bad guy through the arm.
And then
how does that make sense?
And then just to add insult to injury, they're like, and just in case, because we want to shit on the canon of the first game, guess what? The president, is the third brother.
Yeah, the president is your other brother.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And like you look at the president in this game and he's like got this giant armor and this eye patch and you're like, how did this Scooby-Doo villain become president?
Right?
Who voted for this?
Although it's
guy?
almost like he saw Trump like 20 years ago and was like, how funny would it be if just this like cartoon villain was president? I don't want to listen, all right? I'm not getting, it's not a political podcast. If you like Trump, keep listening. It's
God bless
fine.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, Trump is hilarious. Whatever. But it just like I just and like listen, like if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't quite figure out what the fuck is going on in this game they're talking about. Like, yeah, welcome to the club. I don't get it.
The part where they really lose me in this game though is as soon as they're like, yeah, see this guy, he's a vampire, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What universe does this take place in?
And okay, so here's what's weird to me about that.
Yeah.
Is like when you play the first one. Like, there's a guy that reads minds, and he's got telekinesis.
Psycho Mantis,
yeah, and
he's awesome.
And like obviously, it's like one of the most iconic like video game moments ever. Is you got to unplug your controller and put in the second player.
Yeah, he reads your memory card,
right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because like with the combat and the stealth and the strategy and that kind of stuff, they really try to make this feel like a realistic, serious game. And then at the same time, they're like, this guy's got the power to read minds. And it's like, all right, that's a little bit weird compared to like the seriousness of the stealth and things, but okay, like I could look by it.
Yeah,
but now they're like, oh yeah, this guy's a vampire. Yeah. And you're like, what? Oh yeah, but no, the combat and everything is still dead serious, real world. You know what I mean? Like, if they were giving like Raiden, if they were giving him like some kind of power too and trying to make it out to be like everyone's got these weird like mutants almost, then you'd be like, okay, everyone's got some, like it's a sci-fi world.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, it's a completely serious world. President of the United States, there's nuclear weapons, they're terrorists.
Yeah, it's all about philanthropy, and there's real information about nuclear weapons in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like 90% of it is like dead serious and stuff like that, but then here's the vampire. And here's a big fat guy who loves bombs and rollerblades.
Yeah. Although the fat man boss fight is pretty fun. It's not my favorite boss fight in this game, I don't think. I think my favorite boss fight is like there's like a point where you have like 20 different Metal Gear rays come at you at the same time. That's like my favorite boss fight.
I don't think I got that far.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the end. But
so you have to fight a whole bunch of Metal Gears?
Yeah, simultaneously. You have to fight like 20 of them.
Jesus.
It's fucking awesome.
Well, it shows you how good these like super high-powered weapons they're threatening the world with is with one guy is like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
it's,
so like,
it's
do you
hard
beat
though.
them all?
Like it's super hard. Yeah, you beat them all until like you become like over encumbered, and then the game stops there, and then there's like a cutscene where somebody comes in and saves you or whatever.
Okay.
And I think that's like right before you fight Solidus, like the final boss of the game.
You fight Solid Snake as the boss?
No, Solidus.
Oh, Solidus. So
yeah,
the third snake.
The third snake, yeah.
president.
Which when are we getting Liquidus? That's what I'm asking.
What the fuck? Like
Gaseous. Give me some more snakes.
It's so frustrating to me because like the gameplay, again, I suck at it. But having said that, and I feel like I've always been fair like this, just because I suck at a game doesn't mean it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I said that about like, to me, like the one that stands out is Street Fighter 2. I hate Street Fighter.
Oh, I'm so bad at those games.
Fucking terrible at it. But I'm not stupid enough to be like, this game is not good. Like I get the genius.
Yeah.
I'm just not good at it. And I feel like that with this. Like I can look at the combat, look at the controls. I played the shit out of it. I just couldn't finish it because I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I get it. But I'm like, the story wasn't gripping enough to me to to keep grinding through these parts that kept killing me because I was like, I don't get what is going on.
Yeah.
And I can look by a story if the game is fun. Like look at Mario. I love Mario games.
No
Zelda
story.
games.
Yeah.
Most of the story in Zelda games fucking sucks.
Yeah, look at
But the games
Breath of
are
the Wild's one of the best games of all time, and that game's about fucking nothing.
Exactly. Like you don't give me a fun game and I'll look by the story.
Yeah.
But when your game
hinges on it
needs a story, I'm like, this story sucks.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't. Maybe some people get it, but I don't get it.
It took me a really long time. Like I said, I've played this game more than a dozen times through to the end.
Yeah.
And I do get it. I think it's super contrived. I like it, but only because I like the universe that it exists in.
Right.
I definitely think it's one of the weaker Metal Gear Solid games, with 3 and 4 being much better. 5 is okay, but yeah, like it's definitely one of the weaker Metal Gear Solid games, and like especially because the story gets so dumb. And I'll tell you this now because I know you've never got to the end. It ends on a cliffhanger. which
it does.
which is fucking insane because the next game that they made was a prequel, so they didn't even address the cliffhanger in Metal Gear Solid 3. Which
what
is
the fuck? That's dude. That's ballsy because
Yeah.
you know what that is. When he starts making Metal Gear Solid 3 as a prequel, he's like, okay, well, let's do 3. It'll be a prequel. People will buy that and then we
to
can
see
still,
what happens.
Then we can address the fucking. So like you release the first game and it gets universal praise and everyone's like, this is great. Then you release the second one and you fuck everyone over and take out the main character and people are like, okay.
They're like less good but good.
Then you ended on a cliffhanger. And you're like, well, now I got to buy the third one so that I can see what happened. And then the third one, they're like, yeah, no, we're not even going to talk about that.
Yeah.
They're like, we know you'll buy the fourth one.
Yeah.
And you're like, you motherfuckers.
And the fourth one is the fourth one is a sequel to Sons of Liberty.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wacky. And then the fifth one is a sequel to the third one. It doesn't make any sense.
That's ballsy.
Yeah.
Man. Holy fuck. I mean, obviously it's work because they keep selling.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I would be very curious to know because you're right. Like the sales between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 are like
way different.
And I'm very curious to know how many people were like me and played Metal Gear Solid 2 and just were like, no, I'm done with this.
Well,
and
the thing is the Metal Gear Solid 4 sales right back up.
Right.
Did awesome.
So I wonder then, was it people got turned off by 2? Was it by the time Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, there was so much to play on the like would Metal Gear Solid 2 have sold as well as it did if there was more games available?
I don't know, because like it came out around the same time as like Devil May Cry, and that game didn't do that well.
Right. Like I'll be honest, like the only reason I owned Metal Gear Solid 2 was because I had a PS2 and needed a game to play.
Yeah, and it was
like,
yeah.
Otherwise, I like Metal Gear Solid 1 just fine. I'm replaying it right now on my PlayStation
Great.
Classic. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a great game.
But it would not have been my first choice of game to go out and buy. It was the second one. Like it just wouldn't have been, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know how it would have sold. Like the franchise is still around, and I'm not ignorant. Like Metal Gear Solid has earned its place in like gaming history.
Absolutely, Solid Snakes in Smash Bros.
Exactly.
Which actually, with that in mind, I almost wonder, and maybe I'm looking into this. The PS3 was failing at the time, and then they're like, yeah, we're putting Solid Snake into Smash Brothers, and then all of a sudden it wasn't failing, and Metal Gear Solid 4 sold like gangbusters.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You gotta wonder, did Nintendo have something to do with that?
Yeah. Did Sony like cut them a check or like something and be like, can you please put it? I don't know. That's fucking weird.
But I bet you Sony did cut Konami a check at the release of Metal Gear Solid 2 because they knew that they needed to sell their PS2, and they're like, and that's probably why Solid Snake is in the promotional material. I bet you it's because Sony was like, if you tell people that they're not playing a Solid Snake, they're not gonna be as interested in buying our console.
Yeah.
Right off the
Dude, and that was such a like I remember when Solid Snake like got announced for Brawl.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck?
That's
like
bizarre.
Like when they put Sonic in Brawl, I was actually, as a non-Sega guy who shits on Sega all the time, I was legitimately excited.
Yeah, I was like,
Sonic in Brawl. I was
that
like,
makes sense.
That's fucking rad. He's like a cartoon type character. He's gonna fit in that universe. Everyone's wanted to see Mario versus Sonic, right? Like I was like, that's dope. When Snake got announced, like by today's standards of Smash, Snake is just one of many. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, he's just another Bayonetta or Robin.
Right, but back then it was like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck is Solid Snake doing in Smash Brothers? Like,
yeah,
I have, based on this Metal Gear Solid 2 storyline, I half expected Smash to become part of the Metal Gear Solid fucking storyline. Like,
it practically is at this point.
At this point, it is. Yeah.
My favorite part about Solid Snake, though, is like when he was first announced for Super Smash Brothers, is that he has a move where he like grabs you and cracks your neck, and like just seeing that happen to Mario, it's like, it fucks my entire childhood up.
Oh yeah, and on Metal Gear Solid 2, that's another thing I'll give it a ton of credit for. I love, and I think it was Metal Gear Solid 2 you could do this in first, where you could like almost take a guy like hold a bad guy up.
Yeah,
you could like take your gun out, point it at them, and then like take their rations or their bullets or whatever like that. That's fucking dope. Like that was another really cool
as soon as they give you your shit, as soon as they give you their shit, you better be shooting them in the head.
Yeah.
Because they're going to fucking tell somebody.
Oh, yeah. You can't let them go. Like it's like you're always like, just give me your rations and you'll be fine. Okay, here's my sandwich. And then,
yeah.
Because, otherwise they're going to kill you, right? But you could knock them out too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I did not know this, but in the review I was reading about this morning, they were like, I think they said this was the first game you could beat the entire game without killing bad guys.
Yeah, you can use the stun gun for the whole game.
That's pretty dope. Like,
and you can stun every boss to sleep and not kill a single one of the bosses.
That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
Like that's something that that takes that takes time to put into the game, and you certainly didn't have to put that in the game because no one has a problem with killing bad guys in video games, and that they would take the time to put that into the game, like the amount of love and
it's the original
passion,
Undertale.
totally, like the amount of love, passion, and creativity and art. Like, I'm not a Metal Gear Solid guy after the first one, but credit given where it's due, like that's not a half-assed franchise.
Yeah,
it's almost too much sometimes with this weird fucking story they have going on.
It's pretty wild. I follow it pretty closely because I'm a fan of the series, like especially after 3. Because 3 changed everything. 3 changed the whole way the series worked, and like it was like, oh, you want to make the game coherent? That's really wicked.
Right.
But this game had a weird thing, and I'm wondering because you said you never beat it, but did you ever get to the point, I think it's pretty close to the end of the game, where you get all your shit taken away?
Yeah, where he's getting tortured?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that part, because then Snake gives you your stuff back.
Yeah, Snake gives you your stuff back.
I do remember that part, yeah.
But not until after you are walking around in this giant tanker without a weapon where there's lots of enemies, completely buck-ass
you're
nude.
naked. Yeah, I do remember that part.
Buck-ass nude. Yeah. And I'm like, man, it's so ballsy to put this into a game and market it towards the current game market in 01 because, look, I'm not gonna dance around it when he does his thing where he does like a front roll and he throws his legs up in the air. I pause it when like his crotch was facing the camera. Yeah.
No, you're right though. Yeah. It's like that. Yeah, that was like. All they would have had to do was leave him in his boxers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or something.
But they didn't. They made him buck-ass nude.
And, like, again, that's them trying to make this into, like, it's an adult gay movie game. Like, it deserves a ton of credit. For all the criticisms I have of it, like, the AI is fucking genius. It's obviously the forefather of stealth gaming.
Yeah.
Like, no question. It's the GOAT of stealth gaming. Like, no question.
Yeah. What else you got? Like Splinter Cell? That ain't touching Metal Gear Solid, yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I guess maybe like the Hitman games are
kinda, yeah.
And I like
kind
the
of stealthy.
Hitman
Yeah, those are good games, yeah.
But like Metal Gear Solid is the forefather of them. Like it's one of the most iconic franchises of all time. And whether this game sold because people had nothing else to play or because they wanted to play a sequel to the original or what, like it's like Metal Gear Solid 2 is a big fucking deal and it's a big game. And if they released a PlayStation 2 Classic and put Metal Gear Solid 2 on it, that's really all they would have to do to sell that fucking system.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be completely wrong, but I am pretty sure this was the highest selling game on the PS2, which is crazy because that's the highest selling console of all time. Because maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe the PS2 came with a pack-in.
No, it didn't.
It came in with like a demo disc.
Yeah, it didn't come with a game though.
Yeah, with like a bunch of shit that they're like, hey, we didn't give you a game, but here's shit you could give us money for.
the pack-in game thing is funny because I'm just looking up the greatest selling PS2 games of all time because I'm curious now.
Yeah.
The pack-in game thing is funny because it's like that used to be like a thing, and then it was like. I don't know who the first system it might have been PlayStation.
Yeah, I think it was
Sega
the PS1.
came with like the Sonic and Mario always had Nintendo always had a Mario game. And
yeah,
stuff.
It was Mario World.
Because the PS1 did because I spent all my money on a PS1 and all I had was a demo disc that I got out of a magazine because I didn't have any money left to buy a game. And it was like once Sony did that, everyone's like, we could do that because the Nintendo 64 didn't have a pack-in game. Xbox, you know what I mean? And then they were like, okay, well, fuck it then.
The weird thing is though is that Nintendo always had a pack-in game. Like I think it was Luigi's Mansion with GameCube. Well, I think with the GameCube one, it fluctuated. Like they'd have one that came with Luigi's Mansion. They'd had one that come with Smash Brothers. But I don't believe their handhelds ever came with a pack-in. Like maybe the Game Boy came with Tetris.
I want to say the Game Boy came with Tetris.
Yeah, but like Game Boy Color, I know for sure didn't come with any pack-in because when I got my Game Boy Color as a kid, I had to go out and buy Pokemon Gold and Silver. And like the Game Boy Advance, same thing. I had to go and buy Pokemon the same day I got the Game Boy Advance.
Right.
But their home consoles have always come in with a pack-in.
So I also would have thought Metal Gear Solid 2 might be the best-selling game, but it's not. There are 6 games in front of it.
Really? What are they?
And they're all from the same 3 franchises.
Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto is the best. San Andreas is the best-selling.
That checks out.
Gran Turismo 3.
Oh, that sucks.
Gran Turismo 4.
Fuck.
I do not, listen, I don't know if anyone listening to this is like, where's your Gran Turismo game? You're probably never going to get a Gran Turismo episode. I just don't get it.
I don't get Gran
I bought
Turismo.
the first one and was like, this is boring.
Yeah, it's super boring. It's like Mario Kart without the fun.
Yeah. Vice City.
Yep, that checks out.
And then this one surprises me a little bit. Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X. Yeah, actually, you know what? That game sold really well because I think that was the same deal. Like, it came out right near the beginning, and they're like, all right, you guys, we got Metal Gear Solid, we got Final Fantasy X, pick your poison.
Okay, and there you go. Okay, and this is not a Final... we are going to do an episode on Final Fantasy X at some point.
Which is a fucking incredible game.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
We'll see.
No, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it.
The reason I put the PS2 so far behind the GameCube and the Xbox, I think, is because the two games I think... I'm not a Grand Theft Auto guy.
Yeah.
Okay? They're fine.
I think they're okay. Yeah.
They're just not for me.
Not the best games.
Two PlayStation 2 games I think of are Metal Gear Solid 2 and Final Fantasy X. And I never finished Metal Gear Solid 2 because I was like, man, I don't know. And Final Fantasy X, I fucking hate Titus so much that you know what? He laughs like Mark. like your brother. I don't know if your brother's listening to this, but your brother laughs like Titus.
Well, he'll be listening.
But I was like, no, these are like the franchises I loved on the PS1, and I'm not digging the PS2 versions of them.
Well, Final Fantasy, like, let's be real. Final Fantasy sunk itself with 8, if we're being real.
Yeah.
Fuck that game.
Which sucks because Final Fantasy 9 was sick and no one played it.
Final Fantasy 9 is good, yeah.
I didn't play it forever either.
Yeah,
but anyway, so as far as Metal Gear Solid 2 goes...
it's okay.
It's
a bit much.
It is a bit much. The story is a lot much.
It's especially a bit much for like a generation of people who are like at 2001. What were like the big games at that time? Is like Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye. Like this is the shit we were used to. Even Metal Gear Solid 1 was like, this is a bit heavy for your audience here. Now it doesn't matter, right?
No, not at all. No, I think I don't have to like it to, and it's not even that I hate it. There's just something about it where I'm like, this wasn't Metal Gear Solid 1.
I do really like it. I do really like the game. Like I've had some criticisms throughout this podcast as well. I do really like it though. And like I can't think of another game where the end credits started rolling and I was like, oh fuck, no, please, this has to keep going.
Right.
And I remember having that moment. Like I was sitting in my bedroom. My mom was fucking using the living room for book club or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, looking at the screen and on, being like, no, I can't wait. I can't wait to know what happens next.
And not only to do that, but then to make you wait 2 games.
Yeah,
to explain it. That's bold.
Yeah,
man.
Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, and I was like, all right, here we go. And I'm playing it. I'm like, well, this is the best Metal Gear Solid game for sure. But fuck you guys for not telling me.
That's bold.
What happens next?
Like to do that in a movie irritates me, but it's like that was a 2-hour commitment. And it was $20 and whatever.
Well, there was 7 years between Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4.
Right. So fucking make you wait all that time and shell out $60 to $80 for a fucking 20 to 30 hour video game and then be like, see you in a decade. You're like, you motherfuckers.
Well, that's like I don't know if you're a fan of the Shenmue franchise.
No.
Really like those games, but the second one ended on a cliffhanger. That game came out on the Dreamcast and then the Xbox, I think in like 01. And the third one is coming out next year.
That's
insane.
You know what though? There's a part of me that respects the shit out of that because I'm like, you know what? That's you've got a quality franchise. You know people are coming back.
So I'm sitting here waiting for Shenmue 3, being like, I'm still in this fucking cave. Like, I need to get out of this fucking cave.
That's well done. I respect that.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 2, though, I think that it does earn its place. I definitely think I have a bit more nostalgia for it, and I think I defend it more than maybe I should.
Right. No, but you know what, dude? Having said that, Bradley, like, when I was online reading about it today, like, overwhelming positive reviews. People, to me, I don't think there are people that hate Metal Gear Solid 2. There's either people like yourself that are like, Metal Gear Solid 2 is dope and Metal Gear Solid is sick. And there's people like me that are like, Metal Gear Solid 1 was fucking rad. And then by Metal Gear Solid 2, you were just like, you know what? This just isn't my jam. It's not that I hate it. It's just not my thing.
It's a super exhausting franchise,
right?
I think.
Right. It's not one of those ones where like I think a lot of people played it were like, this sucks. Fuck Metal Gear.
Yeah.
It was just people were like, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? Like nobody. I haven't seen anyone be like, Metal Gear Solid 2 fucking sucks.
Yeah. There is one thing I really love about this game though. And it's like the part, and this is like my favorite thing, and it's like the take home that I have, and it's like the part where Fat Man is like, I've put bombs all over the plant. You got to go and find them. They're gonna go off in 10 minutes, and you have to run around frantically trying to find these bombs with like the bomb locator, and then you have to spray them with the water to freeze them.
Yeah.
Like that is one of my favorite parts of this entire game. Like it's really, really fun, and it's frantic, and you feel the tension, and you're like, I gotta get moving here.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah,
I like that. All right, well, Fuck, this turned out to, dude. I was like, when we were gonna talk Metal Gear Solid 2, I was like, I bet this is gonna be like one of the short, like 20-minute. All right, well, fucking done with this.
This is what happens when you podcast with another podcast.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, we're at almost an hour, and I'm like, no, that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think of what we're gonna score this on. So on a scale of 1 to 15 Snake Brothers, because they keep making more snakes. How many snakes would you give this game?
Out of 15 Snake Brothers?
Out of 15 Snake Brothers.
I'd say this is a solid 11 Snake Brothers. You know, it's not a perfect game. I like it a lot. But it's 11 out of 15. It seems fair.
All right, well, fuck, you know what? I was going to give it 12, but I can't give it more than you when you like it and I don't. So I'll give it 10 Snake Brothers and an arm.
Perfect.
And an arm. And so then when you're around, when you're around, the liquid arm takes over and I bump it up to 11.
Yeah, perfect. Because I talk about the shit that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, like, this podcast was designed to trigger feelings of nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And just watching the review and hearing the music and everything, like, I got that nostalgia feeling from this game.
The Metal Gear Solid theme in this game is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, and watching that initial, like seeing, like, Snake running around in that tanker at the start and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, I fucking remember this game.
I do,
like,
I do remember
I remember
game.
that case, that fucking weird-looking case.
And you had to use your camera to take pictures of shit.
Yeah.
This game added a lot.
Oh, dude.
And so for that, I give it props. Really like it.
That's where it gets the credit from me, is they weren't lazy. They didn't mail it in and just make a sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
I feel like they almost went fucking too far with it. You know,
they went too hundo.
But they didn't mail it in, and I think they deserve a lot of respect for that. So, Bradley, good job. Good podcast. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And to anyone out there listening that likes Gran Turismo, you're fucking weird. All right. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, you guys. Bradley, thank you so much for joining me and talking Metal Gear Solid 2. And for all of you beautiful people, thank you so much for letting me invade your brain for an hour and talk some video games. As I already said off the top, if you're lukewarm on Pokemon Sword and Shield, give it a chance. I don't know how much more we'll be talking about it here on the show. And if you're lukewarm on our Patreon, then please warm up and please consider it. Patreon.com/rememberthegame. $2 a month. Extra podcasts, shout outs, chance to win prizes. The wrestling podcast is coming in January. Follow us on social media at Remember the Game. Leave us a good review if you enjoyed the show. That would mean a lot to me. And most importantly, go play some video games. Thanks for listening, you guys. I'll talk to you in 7 days with episode 74 of Remember the Game. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you later. Cheers.